Assalamu alaikum. A very good morning to all of you students. I hope you all students are fine. So yesterday Dr. Hasib has covered the first part of the lecture pharmacogenetics, and today I will finish the lecture of pharmacogenetics. I also already delivered that lecture at the start of the session before winter vacations. So I hope there will be inshallah no difficulty in remembering this lecture or understanding this lecture. A brief introduction. What is pharmacogenetics? Pharmacogenetics is the branch of pharmacology. It is related or devoted to the study of genetic factors in response to a drug. Pharmacogenetics involves the study of genetic factors which will result in response to a drug. How genetic works? So, genetic factors are transferred from parents to their children. What is polymorphism? Poly means many and morph means shapes and forms. A state in a population when two or more discontinuous forms of the species occur. It means why two or more discontinuous forms of species occur? Uh, it means that the metabolism of drug in one species is different than that of other species. Now, the clinical importance of pharmacogenetics is that a drug might occasionally give unusual danger response. Now, I will give you a few examples. Yesterday, Dr. Hasib has given a few examples of pharmacogenetics, like warfarin resistance, hereditary resistance, inactive vitamin K epoxide. It is catalyzed to active form, which is known as hydroquinone form. Now, the mechanism of warfarin is that warfarin binds with the enzyme to inhibit active hydroquinone form. Whenever there is mutational change in vitamin K epoxide reductase, it will result in mutant enzyme which will no longer bind with warfarin. And now the next example is related to isoniazid. Isoniazid is metabolized by acetylation in the liver. Some people have genes uh, which will uh, fast, which will rapidly acetylate the isoniazid drug. And in fast acetylators, more metabolites of isoniazid are formed. And some people have genes which will uh, slowly acetylate the isoniazid. And in the people who are slow acetylators of isoniazid, more parent form of the drug is formed. It is autosomal recessive disorder 50%. It may occur in 50% in the blacks and whites in Europe and America, but it's less common in Asians, people, and Eskimos. Half-life may become 1.2 hours in rapid acetylators. Normally the half-life is of isoniazid is 2 hours, while half-life of isoniazid is increased to 3.3 hours in the people in slow acetylators. In fast acetylators, hepatic toxicity may occur due to more toxic metabolite, while in slow acetylators, peripheral neuropathy may occur due to more parent form of the drug. The parent form compete with vitamin B6, so symptoms of peripheral neuropathy may occur. Next drug is hydralazine. It is the antihypertensive drug. It is acetylated in liver as first pass effect. In fast acetylators, that drug have decreased bioavailability, so there is decreased antihypertensive effect of the drug. Slow acetylators have increased bioavailability of that drug, leading to toxic effect like systemic lupus erythematosus. It is the toxic effect of the drug hydrazine, but that is systemic lupus erythematosus. It is the disease involved the skin, but that condition is reversible. The condition may um, the patient may become stable when the drug hydrolysis is discontinued, so the condition is reversible. Next is defective ester hydrolysis. Whenever there is genetic defect in pseudocholine esterase, pseudocholine esterase is the atypical enzyme and it is involved in the metabolism of succinylcholine. So whenever there is genetic defect in pseudocholine esterase, succinylcholine metabolized half as rapidly. So prolonged stay of the succinylcholine in the body may occur and which will lead to the side effect. Affected individuals after administration have prolonged neuromuscular blockade, paralysis, and apnea. Reduced glutathione protects proteins of RBC membrane from oxidative stress imposed by highly reactive oxidizing drug metabolites. Whenever there is genetic deficiency of glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, it produces reduced glutathione deficiency. It produces reduced glutathione and glutathione deficiency leading to altered cell membrane function leading to hemolysis. Next example is malignant hyperpyrexia. It is an autosomal dominant trait. There is impaired ability to store calcium in the sarcoplasmic reticulum. And triggering stimulus is when the patient use general anesthetic along with muscle relaxants. There is sudden prolonged release of calcium. There is massive muscle contraction of the massive muscle contraction all over the body, and there is increased lactic acid and high body temperature. Next is acute intermittent porphyria. In acute intermittent porphyria, there is increased levels of delta aminolavoninic acid synthase, and it is induced by barbiturates, which will lead to increased porphyrin synthesis. Individuals who cannot metabolize porphyrins, they have high levels when exposed to barbiturates. They have certain neurological symptoms and acute abdominal pain. Next example is methemoglobinemia. Methemoglobin reductase prevents formation of methemoglobin by preventing oxidation of hemoglobin. Individuals with hereditary deficiency of methemoglobin reductase develop methemoglobinemia with nitrates, sulfonamides, and it will lead finally to cyanosis. Next example is vitamin D deficiency. Whenever there is genetic impairment in converting vitamin D into an active form, it will lead to vitamin D resistant rickets. So this is your assignment, define pharmacogenetics and give at least 5 examples of pharmacogenetics. So next examples is achalasia. It is inherited by single genes. Catalase is the enzyme which converts hydrogen peroxide to oxygen and water. Nascent oxygen which is released, it has antiseptic effect. If that gene is absent, so no catalase activity occurs. Hydrogen peroxide is ineffective as an antiseptic. Atropine esterase. Some strains of rabbits have genetically controlled enzyme. That enzyme is known as atropine esterase. They can hydrolyze the atropine. So they are resistant to the effect of atropine. So that's all, students. Last half of the lecture is finished now. I hope you people understand this lecture, and if you have any difficulty, then please you are free to question me, and please do the assignment on time.